8 billion people alive in the world today, 7 generations, and 5 of those generations are in our workforce. Reverend Boudreaux was the pastor at the local Cajun Baptist church, and Pastor Thibodeau was the pastor at the local Covenant church. Well, Boudreaux and Thibodeau were standing on the side of the road one day, pounding a sign into the ground that read, "The end is near. Turn yourself around, for it be too late." And as they were doing that, this guy drove by, he rolled down his window, and he started pounding his fist, and he said, "You religious nuts?" Well, a couple of minutes later, Boudreaux and Thibodeau, a loud screech and a crash. They looked at each other and they said, "Do you think that the sign should have just said, bridge out?" Every year, companies waste a lot of money on errors that are preventable. In 2019, Dynamic Signal did some research, and they found that approximately $37 billion per year is attributed to errors that are due to things as simple as a failure for employees to communicate with each other. Bonjour, bonne journée, and salut. I know that I have at least one friend in the building who speaks a little French, and don't be afraid, I'm not going to do the whole presentation in French. But my name is LaRhonda Julien. I work at Georgia Transmission Corporation. I am the Inspection Performance Specialist in the Construction Inspection Department. That's a lot of words to say that some of my main roles and responsibilities include business continuity, change management, human performance, and knowledge transfer. I am at kind of a unique place in my career right now because the people who are coming in to the corporation right now, our co-ops, our interns, our new associates, they all are about 20 to 25 years younger than me. And our more mature associates are about 20 to 25 years older than me. So I have had to learn how to, and focus a whole lot on how to effectively communicate across generations and cultures. Effective communication, which is one of our human performance tools, is like steel. So it's strong, but it also has to be a little malleable. Effective communication is simple, as you saw with the quote from earlier. Effective communication is safe. So when you're delivering a message to somebody, you want it to be something that's going to stand them up and not tear them down. Effective communication, hopefully, is delivered by somebody that you can trust. Somebody who's going to have some experience in what it is that they're talking to you about. And hopefully they'll deliver that message with some empathy as well. Effective communication also involves listening. And you're not listening to respond, but you're listening to understand. And when you do all those things, you help to increase employee productivity, employee engagement, and there's less conflict on your teams. There are approximately 7 generations of people who are alive in the world today. So according to our recent US Census, that's about 8 billion people. So it's 4 people born every second, or unfortunately 2 people who pass away every second. But 8 billion people alive in the world today, 7 generations, and 5 of those generations are in our workforce. You have our baby boomers, who again are beginning to transition out, who are used to communicating in more concrete ways, so via email or in person. And you also have our Gen Z, so people who were born in about 1998 or so, who are now coming into the workforce, who think that FaceTime is in-person communication. But whether you are a baby boomer or you are a part of Gen Z, your culture and the way that you communicate is shaped by those life-defining things that were happening when you were born. What is culture? So culture is a lot of things. Culture is those customary beliefs that you share with people who are in the places that you work, people who, as you saw before, were born at the same time that you were, people who share the same religious beliefs that you do. There's even a culture of people that are in this room. But no matter what culture it is that you are a part of, that culture takes place at a specific time, at a specific place, and one of the most important things about that culture is making sure that you are taking that knowledge and that you are sharing it and that it is being passed on to the future generations so that that culture continues to live past you. This word search, which you probably have to squint to see and figure out, but it's a real word search. I actually populated it with words that are unique not just to my culture, but to a culture in a little town outside of Atlanta. It's a suburb called Clarkston. Clarkston has approximately 80,000 residents in 1 square mile. Clarkston is known as the most diverse mile in the country, and it's also known as the Ellis Island of the South. 80,000 people, 1 square mile, and they speak 60 different languages. So if you look real close, you'll see some of those words, some of those things that are unique to their culture in this puzzle. This is a picture of my dad and my grandmother. Now, I love my dad to death. I'm a daddy's girl for sure. When my father was 3 years old, his father died. My grandmother, who was 27 years old, had 7 children, did not speak any English, and had never had a job, made the decision to give my father and his younger sister up for adoption. This photo is 50 years later. My dad was reunited with his mother. She still spoke no English. And 50 years later, and being adopted by a family who exclusively spoke English, my dad no longer spoke any French to be able to communicate with her. But what they did on that day, 50 years later, when they reconnected, they sat there. And they sat there for hours just looking at each other. In that moment, I realized that the most important, the most effective part of actually communicating with people is to be present.